You're watching Wired Up Retro. It's episode 58, and in today's episode we are springboarding on forward from last episode where I featured the Hyperkin Ranger, and this is an Atari 2600 controller made by Hyperkin. That's a single button controller designed to work on the Atari 2600, the Robotron 77, even Atari computers and Atari 7800, at least for the single button games it works. Now you're saying, what is this contraption you've got here? Well, I've devised a way to connect two controllers so you can get two button support on your Atari 7800. I show you how to do that on our last episode. There's a primary adapter that's required, and then the second one that's added to it is a splitter cable. So for the 5200, it's kind of the same setup, except for the primary adapter not being the Seagull 78 adapter, but an adapter that I have here called the Master Play Clone. And this was released in 2015. These are no longer being produced, but for you 5200 fans who already have this is all going to work with the Hyperkin Ranger that I set up on our last episode. And I did promise you that I'd show some proof that it works on the Atari 5200. So you've got this splitter cable, which is essentially a female 9-pin to two male 9-pin. And to one side of this splitter cable, you put the 80's Retro Receiver, which is a Sega Genesis compatible device, which receives the wireless signal sent by your Nintendo Switch Joy-Con. And this particular one is an Asian company's version of that called the Convoca Joy-Con. And in this, it does give button responses for the right Joy-Con. The left Joy-Con won't work with it. Also, the stick doesn't respond. But the buttons do, so that's really what allows this to work, the buttons. Now on this side, you plug in your Hyperkin Ranger, so when they're both feeding their signals in, it gives you the primary button here and the secondary button here to play games such as H.E.R.O. Now, to those of you who don't have a Master Play Clone, it's not currently being manufactured, what are you going to do? Well, I have a great plan for you guys, and that has to do with this little adapter, which I featured in Wired Up Retro episode number 45. This one is made by an eBayer who goes by the handle Icons GR74, and this adapter is basically a Master Play clone. It allows Genesis controller signals to get converted so that the 5200 can read that two-button controller, okay? It's actually a three-button, but two of the three buttons are received as functional signals. So if you replace this with that and plug this in, unfortunately, the 80's Retro Receiver doesn't seem compatible with this. So in order to get this to work, you have to actually make a mod of this product. And you're going to have to add a little tiny wire, solder it at two different points, and then suddenly everything's going to become lively and it's all going to work. So I will show you that in a few minutes. Let me show you the results of getting this all set up the right way. Yep, so my laser there was with the primary button. The dropping the dynamite was done with this little shoulder button here on the Switch Joy-Con. Get out of there. All right, so you can see it works. Proof of concept. So this episode also has a little to do with another modification, which I am soon going to be revealing here in just a minute. Can't wait to show you that. That's going to have something to do with using two Switch Joy-Cons at the same time to play some of the two-stick games for the Atari 5200. So some of you out there will be quite pleased to know this is going to be a very nice way to play the 5200 games that are two-stick games. All right. Ah, that snake always gets me. Okay, so we're going to be doing a mod that gets this working with this instead of this. This is my 2015 Master Play clone. It's got a couple of extra little thingies here. These are potentiometers that this doesn't have, but other than that, it's pretty much going to do the same exact thing, getting Atari controllers for the 2600 and also the Genesis controllers and Master System controllers working on your 5200. Just a little bit more compact, and I want it to work with this 80's Retro Receiver, and the way to do that is you're going to take a little wire and you're going to connect pin number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that pin right there, actually by soldering to that point, to pin number 12 on this. And pin number 12 is found right here, okay? And so we're gonna take this and solder it to that point. So you take your wire, you're probably gonna need enough length here. I think this will probably be enough right here. It's a little more than 2 inches. And we'll just go ahead and cut that. And we'll strip off the covering there. Okay, so I've got the covering removed from the edges there, and we're gonna go ahead and do our first soldering. So really we just need to tin this initially. Almost got it. There we go. And then just go ahead. Okay, so we got it connected to pin 5. Looks like it's solidly connected there. And we just want to make sure we're not going to get a short. You know what? That is so close to the next one. I'm going to remove it, and we're going to reattempt to do that again. Okay. Try again. Got it now, no short. All right, so pin number 5 on the 9-pin side is established, and we're going to wrap it around to the other side, go to number 12. This would be right here. That's 15, that's 14, 13, 12. 12 is right there. So that's the one we want to connect it to. I'm going to tin this again. Got it. Sort of. Okay, there we go. All right, success. We've got ourselves pin 12 on the 15-pin side and pin 5 on the 9-pin side. Let's go ahead and plug this retro receiver for the Sega Genesis in, and we'll take it over and try it out. Well, okay, I've got my 9-pin Icons GR 5200 controller adapter and my 8-bit do retro receiver. And right before coming over here and turning the camera on, I actually tried it, and I ran into an issue. And if you recall, when I had the Master Play clone all set up here, the one from 2015, everything was working fine. I had this Convoca third-party Nintendo Joy-Con for the Switch connected to my Hyperkin Ranger. And unfortunately, with this particular adapter, there's a problem in that the down position is constantly firing, okay? So it's pressing down on a game like Star Trek, that's not going to work. So I was like, oh boy. So I ended up popping this off, the Hyperkin Ranger, and good news, the actual Switch Joy-Con made by Nintendo has compatibility. So I'm like, phew, I'm glad this works. All right, now the only reason I had bought the third party was really because it has this little micro USB port for charging purposes, because I already have a USB charger that would fit in there. The actual Nintendo Switch Joy-Con doesn't actually have that. You have to go and buy a separate charger for it or plug it into a Switch, which I don't have. So I thought, oh, well, this would be more efficient for me, but in the end, I guess maybe having the first party product would have been more of a winner. And also, the right Joy-Con works, left doesn't. But if you have the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, the green one and the pink one are the ones my daughter and her husband loaned me. Both actually have compatibility with this 8-bit DOE when it's all hooked up properly. So yeah, overall, very much the best option. Okay, if you're going to get them, just get a charger if you don't have a switch. You'll need one. So let's go ahead and play a little Star Trek Strategic Operations Simulator, and we'll see how we do. All right. So I'm going to hit the second button, and lo and behold, I've got that photon torpedo working. And when you press down, oh yeah, you can't do warp speed on this level. Oops. I'm going to dock here. There we go. All right, so warp speed, there you go. And press down on the joystick to get that. All right, all right, so I have something else I want to show you, and I'm sure you're going to like this. Okay, so I got meteorites in my 5200, and instead of having all these adapters all plugged in together, I just got the 8-bit DOE plugged into my Icons GR 5200 adapter, and I've got a connected wirelessly Nintendo Joy-Con. It's held like this, okay? You're going to basically hit button A for button 1, and the X would be button 2 for your 5200. Then this will control up, down, left, right. So let's go ahead and play a little bit of Meteorites with the smallest controller imaginable for the 5200. Here we go. Oh, got me. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you hyperspace, just so you'll see that that can actually happen. Here we go. Got it. And there, oh, anyway, you get the idea. It did work. I got the hyperspace. It just put me in the wrong spot. Okay, so I want to show you something else here. I'm going to switch over to this Robotron 2084 game. I have an idea in mind that I think some of you might actually really like. So I have a second Icons GR 5200 controller adapter, which I'm going to plug into port 2. And then I also have a second 8-bit DOE Retro Receiver for the Sega Genesis, which I will plug in here. And you know, this one's connected to button or controller 1. This can be connected to port or to 2. There we go. Connecting, and here we go. All right, so to get the game started, you just hold them like that. It's yeah, not really the ideal, but it works. All right. So what if I could hold them like this and put them in a Switch grip made by Nintendo? That might actually be pretty interesting. Let me show you how it's done. Okay, so we got my official Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, and I've got a Switch Joy-Con grip that these slide into like that, and essentially it makes one solid controller. Now, back in the days of the Atari 5200, there was a coupler you could put your Atari 5200 controllers into to play Robotron 2084, the two-stick game, as well as another game called Space Dungeon. And a lot of people actually used it kind of like this. It has a nice little soft pad on the underside, so almost like a grip for your fingertips to be on the underside. I kind of like this. And so yeah, if you want to replace this corded contraption with wireless, I definitely would say this may be a very good way to play the game. So let me show you how we're going to wire it up. Okay, so we've got a cord here, and inside it has little tiny wires, and I'm going to expose those by removing the cover. And probably a little more than 2 inches are going to be removed, so I'll just go ahead and do this. Alright, so now what I'll do is to attempt to expose some of the wire off the end of this by removing its cover.
And I'm going to do this for each wire. Okay, so I've managed to expose the wire on the end of each of these, and I counted up 10 wires total. Some of these are distinctive, red, yellow, green, but there's also multiples on this particular wire of black, okay, which can get confusing. So what I'm going to do is tear off a little piece of masking tape for each black wire, and I'm just going to put, let's say for this one, I'll put it on right there, and let's label that with a 1. Okay. And which one of these black wires corresponds to that? Well, the best way to tell is to first pull this out a little bit. There it is. It was moving this one. So I'm going to put the corresponding number 1 on the other side there. Okay, so I've got masking tape on each of these black wires that are number 1 through 4. I'm going to make red be the number 5, yellow be 6, green be 7, blue be 8, and then white will be 9. And you can choose whatever order you want to go. Just write it down beforehand. And then you're going to take these solderless connectors. This is a female end, this is a male end, and you'll be connecting them in there. You basically just feed the wire inside a little hole that's right here, corresponding to the numbers that are shown. So just wire it up properly and you should be good to go. Now I'm going to show you the map that you're going to use. Now let's say you wired up the two sides identically, then you would end up with an extension cord. But yeah, we don't want an extension cord. We want to have some differences between the one side and the other, and the main difference really is going to be that the up, down, left, and right are going to be altered. So if you take a look at my diagram here, you'll have a counterclockwise cable, and then you'll also have a second one, which I'm holding right here, and this one is going to be the clockwise cable. And once that's wired up properly, then you've got 2 cables rearing and ready to go. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and get this all put together. Alright, so I managed to get everything connected here, and now I'm going to show you the one I'm going to set up for the clockwise 90. And so for the clockwise 90, I've already wired in this side. They're all different colored wires, so it kind of came in handy for the male side. Then to the female side, I haven't yet connected these different wires. So if on, let's say number 1, it's the gray wire, well, on the female side, the gray wire is going to go to number 4. So I just would ask that you look at the diagram if you happen to take a look at the description and you want to go to that Google website and download that and print it. It'll be yours to keep on paper, and it can come in handy. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one all wired in properly, and then we'll be good to go with our Switch Joy-Cons. Okay, so here's how I've got it set up. I've got my 80's Retro Receiver plugged into my counterclockwise 90 adapter that I just made. Okay, and that's plugged into my Icons GR 9-pin to 5200 modded adapter. And on the other side, instead of having a counterclockwise, I've got a clockwise 90 on this side, and it's all connected to my Switch grip with the Joy-Cons. And let's go ahead and get playing some Robotron 2084 on the Atari 5200. Okay, now for the moment of truth. We're going to try Robotron 2084 with the Switch Joy-Cons. You know, I'm actually kind of used to using thumbstick controllers to play these kind of 2-stick games, thanks to the PlayStation 1. The PlayStation 1 had a few options there, and you could use both thumbsticks. So anyway, this doesn't feel foreign to me. It kind of feels like home, and I'm enjoying it, definitely. It's very accurate control. I'm not having any delay or lag. It seems like we've got better than expected control for this game. Very awesome.
This is actually not the first time there's been a double thumbstick controller for these two-stick 5200 games. It was actually done back in 2018. Dr. Scott Baker, who has his own website, and he's an Atari Age member, he actually provided members with a schematic to make a board, and he made some of the boards that were, it was basically an adapter that enabled you to plug in your own PlayStation 2 controller to get that two-stick control for Robotron and Space Dungeon, the other 5200 two-stick game. So a number of people did end up doing that in 2018, and if you didn't know how to solder, you couldn't really accomplish it. But there were a number of people who did it and still have that adapter, so it's pretty neat. I really wish that someone had jumped aboard and tried to, make them available to the regular public, but I don't think that happened. But now you have a new way of playing Robotron and two-stick games, and it's actually not that hard. No soldering, well, a little bit of soldering involved, but very little. Yikes. All right. So definitely a whole lot of fun. This could actually be taken over to the Atari 7800 for some Robotron 2084 action. And the way you would do that would be, instead of using these as your primary adapters, the Icon's H.E.R.O 5200 adapters, well, you would replace them with either an Aladdin Seagull 78 adapter, a pair of those, or even a Sega Controllers to Atari Systems converter cable, which was made by Best Electronics. And that one's actually a little cheaper, although it doesn't have the two-button function. But that can actually work on your Atari 7800 or 2600. Actually, there's going to be, maybe from what I hear, a Robotron 2084 made for the Atari 2600 as a homebrew, maybe coming out within the next 6 months or 3 months. I'm not sure when. So when that comes out, this will be pretty interesting to try out with that. So definitely stay tuned to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely give me a subscribe. I look forward to talking to you down in the comments below. In our next episode, I'm going to be going just one more step further with the Joy-Cons idea. I'm not going to reveal right now exactly what I got planned, but it does have something to do with Spy Hunter for your Atari 2600 console. And that happens to be a two-stick game. I wonder what I'm going to do. So, all right. So, I guess that's about all I have for you. Definitely let me know what your thoughts are. If you did try this out, I'd love to hear back from you to see how your experience went. And making the little adapters really doesn't take a lot of time. You just have to get the right parts, the right cord, and you'll be all set to go. So definitely keep gaming out there, and I will look forward to talking to you in the next episode. In the meantime, game on.